So just wanted to recap from the other day in class where we're going over the mechanics of ventilation. So as you can see, what I've done is I've taken an empty container and I was able to affix our trachea in there. I was also able to put two branches for the left and right main stem bronchus, attach two lungs. The jar is going to serve as our chest or our thorax. The two pink balloons are obviously the lungs, while the straw is going to be our trachea bifurcated into the left and right main stem bronchus. And then this white portion that I've got on the bottom here, you can see is going to be the diaphragm. So just wanted to try to rehash some of the things that we talked about in class the other day. So you're going to have your airway opening pressure or the body surface pressure. That is the pressure that we are exerting. Notice that at end inspiration and at end exhalation, the alveolar pressure is going to be equal to the airway opening pressure or atmospheric pressure, if you will. That way flow will stop. Because remember, in order to have flow, you have to have a pressure gradient. So if we utilize this model to mimic how we breathe normally, we say that the diaphragm contracts. As that diaphragm contracts, it creates that negative pressure. So the pressure inside of the chest becomes negative, more negative than it is out at the airway opening. That will allow air to move into the trachea and down into the lungs, and those will inflate. And then you'll reach a point to where the pressures are equilibrated. The diaphragm will relax. The elastic recoil forces of the lung will take over, and then exhalate. Then the pressure on the inside will be greater than what's on the outside, and that will allow for the expiratory flow to occur. So hopefully you can see, I'll try to keep my hands out of the way, but as I pull on this diaphragm to mimic contraction of the diaphragm, and notice the space in between the lungs and the inside of the what would be the chest wall, that is our pleural space. It would have been fantastic if I could have got to where I actually was able to adhere those two, but was unable to do that. So there's a significant space in the pleural space, but nonetheless, we can follow along. So if I contract the diaphragm, you'll notice that those balloons inflate, and hopefully you can hear the air going through the. So now we're at a position where there's no more flow. I let that relax, the air comes back out. So as the diaphragm contracts, that negative pressure gets generated. And remember, we said that spontaneous ventilation will also help to improve upon venous return back to the heart. So let me show you kind of what happens. So now let's apply a positive pressure breath to this situation. So if I take my mouth and place it here and force air into those lungs, now I was unable to put another balloon in there as a heart or anything like this. So obviously I can't replicate that, but you can notice how by me applying positive pressure to inflate these lungs, that it does exhibit a pressure inside of the chest, because you'll notice that this diaphragm begins to bulge out when I blow into the lungs. All right, so that's a quick review on how spontaneous ventilation works. You have your trans-airway pressure, the pleural pressures, and then our trans-thoracic pressures. Remember, trans-respiratory, trans-airway, your trans-pulmonary pressure, and the trans-thoracic pressure just means the pressure across those systems during spontaneous ventilation. Thank you for your time.